I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm Rocky Miller, your host, along with my co-host, Mr. Stephen Campbell. Our featured host, Mr. Johnnie Cole, is going to arrive late. He has something that he had previously scheduled, so it's not a surprise to us that Coach Cole is running behind because we knew that. And we're going to have this is a Rattler edition of HBCU Coaches Corner. We're going to have the 20th head coach of FAMU, which is Coach FAMU legend Quinn Gray,
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, they say put that HOF behind that name, brother.
Hall of Famer. And so, Steve, before we get started, you know, on the show tonight, I got to ask you, man, how you doing, Steve? It's been a while since we did one of these, man.
Hey, man, listen, I'm excited. It's 2026. Spring football has started. We're getting ready to get into the conference tournaments, man. Basketball has been great on both the men's and women's side, on all levels of HBCU, man. We've been doing Sipping on Sundays. Appreciate everybody, you know, rocking with us on the Rocky Miller channel and the Off Script channel, man. That's been awesome, which ties right into this show. So, man, hey, man, I'm great, man. Listen, I'm great. I'm excited. I've got a major announcement to make, you know, on FAMU's behalf, well, social media behalf, jokingly. But, man, I'm excited, man. And you listen, man, we got Quinn Gray, FAMU's head football coach. And I'm super excited. And we got another person that's going to join, too, that is part of my FAMU family. Because, man, listen, man, the business don't stop. The business does not stop.
And I also like to add, we've had added another sensational show on the Off Script channel as well as the Rocky Miller channel. You guys did a show last night, Sipping on Sundays, which usually airs at 8 p.m. on Sundays. But last Sunday, you guys had a schedule change, so you made it up to the public. It came on last night, and you guys had a very interesting conversation. Something I want to touch on before we get into the show. Hey, and if anybody in the chat has something they want to discuss as we open up the show, you're welcome to put the information in. But what I wanted to touch on, you guys really did a really in-depth dive on the Michael Vick documentary. First off, I want to say it was a riveting documentary, meaning that I got into it and I really enjoyed seeing how the sausage is made, so to speak, and watching Michael Vick have a very rough first season. I got the impression, Mr. Campbell, that more than anything, what I got out of that documentary was Michael Vick, a guy who had never coached before, was truly learning on the job. And because he was learning on the job, he was dealt with situation after situation that in a lot of cases, I just think he made the wrong decision. You know what I mean? To Otto, there was a number of things. But what I want to ask you, Mr. Campbell, is do you think it's a good look to see a guy like Mike Vick kind of learn and struggle at his job? I know it's riveting television, right?
Right.
What does it say about the HBCU football overall to see that you hire a guy that's probably one of the highest paid coaches in HBCU football, probably in FCS football, and he struggled mightily while he was on the job? Like, what does that say about the product? What kind of what is that? Does that say anything about HBCU football at all?
Well, no, because what it says about Norfolk State's program, because we kind of talked about this, and Zoe and I talked about coaches that was in that situation. We talked about a TC Taylor, who, of course, a lot of players left, coaches left, and basically the only two men left standing was TC Taylor and Coach O. And you saw how they were able to bring in a great recruiting class, have a positive season, and then a year later, HBCU national champions. You see Coach Tremaine Jackson coaching the national championship, basically get rid of pretty much 75, 80% of the team, bringing 70 new players, and they play for HBCU national championship. You had Deshaun Jackson that comes all the way from the West Coast, never has coached, brings Travis Clark with him, but puts together a tremendous staff that he felt positive. Coaches that he didn't know, I want to be very clear, but had heard great things about, like Nemo Williams, and played the last game of the season for a MEAC championship. So what this says is each individual situation is its own entity in itself. And I think what we're learning, and I want to give Michael Vick a lot of credit, because when you do those things, you never know how it's going to turn out. And what I will say, it is very obvious, he loves his players. And I think the coaches that he brought, that he had some understand that he trusts them, which I totally understand. And I think just looking at it, he wants the best for Norfolk State. But what I think, what we found out, coaching ain't easy, man. Coaching is not easy. And Coach Quinn Gray is probably going to talk about the heavy lift he's got to do at FAMU, because there are a lot of things that he has to heavy lift at FAMU that we all know about. It's no secret. So to watch it, what I found fascinating was you hear all the great coaches, and what's the first building block of a championship team? Discipline. And I think what he realized, and I think this is even when you're a new parent or you become a boss in a new job, you have to fill out what your style is of management, because he is a manager of people. And you have to feel like, do they need to be, because these are kids and they're younger. So I think what he's realizing, he's got to be more stern. He has to be more upfront. And I think what he was doing, he was trusting the kids a little bit too much. I think some of the kids he had an affinity for, like Izzy Carter, that he really wants to succeed. But I think sometimes, and I think what he's learning, and I think as you see it go along, because he replaced some coaches, and I think some things are changing, is that you got to coach. You got to coach. And the first thing, the foundation, is got to be a level of discipline, and the standard is the standard. And we've seen that when we saw the Coach Prime document. Hey, you got to make sure you have your socks a certain height, same colors, things like that, be on time, things like that. I'm already hearing the same thing about Coach Gray. Coach Gray is already, which again, not to get too far, making some positive announcements about things that we were lacking at already, that he's making out. So that lets me know that he has already accepted a challenge of things that he said was going to be a challenge. So I think for Michael Vick, and what you're going to see is, and I'm going to tell you that I don't think this thing was as tightly edited as the Coach Prime documentary, because Coach Prime documentary was clean as tide. This one right here, boy, got a little mud on it.
Again, that's what I appreciated about Ms. Campbell, is that it did show how the sauce. This was not a propaganda piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, sir.
This was a piece that was filled with drama, and I think there was a level of authenticity to it that you generally don't get from coaches. Michael Vick and Marcus Vick, I think, did an amazing job of talking about the struggles that they were having with the decisions that they were making, especially at quarterback. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what they were dealing with. And then Marcus, in some cases, challenged, and I think being his brother gives him a certain leeway that maybe other coaches don't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he literally challenged Mike Vick's decision making on camera about, hey, you have an affinity for this guy, and I think that's clouding his judgment. I'm wondering, would a quarterback coach, would offensive coordinator say that if he were not Mike Vick's brother?
No. And that's the thing about it. And see, this is where you got to have people, when you're building a staff, people that's going to be honest with you. That's going to say, hey, coach, let me give you some idea. And I think that's the reason why Travis Clark is so great with Deshaun Jackson. Because as Deshaun's the head coach, Travis Clark has this tremendous experience. And they can close the doors and say, all right, coach, this is what I saw on the field. Here's how I think you need to approach that going forward. You got to have that mentor. And again, like I said, I'm super excited because especially the way Coach Gray has put together, because he's got every level. He's got young guys that he's about to build up. He's got Billy Roll, a legend, you know what I mean, that has had this experience. So, man, I think for Mike, Coach Vick, I think this is one of those things that, man, you really just learn on the job, and you're going to find, I think they're going to be much better in year 2. Because as you see, and he said it, there were games they should have won. There were games, so it wasn't like they were getting blown out 35, 40, 45 points. It was things that, again, as all coaches know, you learn. They were young. There was some, and I think the biggest thing I think he realized, he should have had auto playing right off the rip.
The two things that impressed me with the documentary, and then we'll move on, and because we got a huge guest tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Two things that impressed me was, and I'll give Mike Vick credit, he never really lost hope in his team. He believed in his team, and he coached them in an inspired way, even though they weren't getting the results he wanted. The other thing that really impressed me is the Norfolk fan base, in the middle of a horrible season, kept showing up. Did that impress you?
That did, because that's what I think, again, I've met Michael Vick, like I told you, done events with him, know a lot of people in his circle, and he's a good person, bro. I think this is one of those things that, talking to Dion, looking at the opportunities, and I think and again, what he's gone through in his life, I think Michael Vick has something to give to young people, because he was a superstar that went at a supernova, hit rock bottom, and now has redeemed himself to become a football coach. That is a lot to give young men and women and people that are involved in that staff, to show the level of being able to overcome objectives in difficult situations.
All right, man. Hey, we got a really special show tonight, man. We have a legendary Rattler and head coach that we're gonna bring on, and we have some other special announcements, Steve. And I'll step aside and let you handle the business.
Hey, man, listen. This is Tuesday night on HBCU Coaches Corner. But this is this is a Rattler takeover. So all you other schools, I want you to listen to this interview and listen to how we do it, so maybe you can copy us. But I am proud to introduce the head coach of Florida A&M University, MEAC Hall of Famer, FAMU Hall of Famer, HBCU national champion, and the 20th head coach of the Florida A&M Rattlers. And I want to say the whole full name, want to make sure, because that name means something to him. Head coach Quinn Gray Sr.
How you doing over here?
What's going on, coach?
A great day's work, man, and just getting to the house and able to relax a little bit. But, I'm excited about being on with you guys.
Well, Coach, listen, I'm going to say this, as like I told you, this is the most watched HBCU coaches show on all the social media. You are a person that people want to hear. You blessed us. Before you got the job, I said, Coach, we need you to come on, because I think some good things are going to happen in the future. Rocky, let me tell you something. This brother right here, now, this is a young brother, but he's a smooth brother. Rocky, let me tell you, I met this brother. Brother pulled up in a motorcycle. Okay? Brother had a nice motorcycle, came and checked out his Rattlers. Coach, did y'all have a game early that day?
Yeah, we played at 1, and I think, Fan, you played at 7.
Played at 7. Coach got on his motorcycle to come support his Rattlers. And this is a true Rattler. Had the pleasure of meeting. I'm so happy. But, Coach, let me tell you something. I got to start this off. Now, Coach, I know you're busy. I know you ain't one of them people all on social media other than doing business, right? But, Coach, as you know, now you're a Rattler. And there's a lot of stuff been going on at FAMU for the last couple of years, unfortunately. And, Coach, there was a a term that was kind of being used. Anytime something happened at FAMU, it was called FAMU foolishness, Coach. I mean, unfortunately, every time we was on the wrong side of the business.
Right.
But Coach, let me tell you something. I'm a person of history. I started tracking something. Now, you were officially announced the coach on December 23rd, 2025.
Right.
That has been 70 days. And Coach, you know what I have determined? I'm going to show you something, Coach. You're going to be surprised about that. I have determined something that you're going to be pretty impressed with. Pull this up right here. Coach, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
We have had 70 days, Coach, without no foolishness. Coach, we ain't been in the news. We ain't had to get on social media. We ain't had to say what happened. We ain't had to have these prayer meetings.
Right.
We ain't had to post in the 220 Club asking you crazy questions.
Right.
So, Coach, I'm just going to tell you, your positive vibe has already started. So we have not had 70 days of, as I like to say, gray skies.
Mm-hmm.
Of gray skies. So, Coach, I want to tell you, for me, who's somebody that's in this media space, and Coach, that was anytime something happened at FAMU, I would get tagged by every school, every person. But Coach, this says a lot about what I believe people at FAMU believe who and what you are and the things you do. Now, Coach, this 70 days of gray skies also has led into something else, Coach, that I think is important. Coach, we had something that was called Restore the Strike.
Right.
And Coach, I saw them nice shirts that you had, so you got to get your boy one.
Oh, yeah.
But Coach, the thing about Restore the Strike, Coach, and I'm going to bring on somebody special to talk about this that even knows more about it. Coach, do you realize, and I'm just going to show this, and then we're going to bring this down because we're going to bring this back. Because of Coach who and what you are, Coach, we have raised, since you got announced, $327,640.
Yeah.
Coach, that's Restoring the Strike right there.
That's right. And
so,
be honest,
go ahead, Coach.
That's just the level, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you, man. Because if you look down there, you're talking about $327,000 with only 894 donors. You talking about FAMU has over 80,000 living alumni, right? So you're talking about, you ain't even talking about the tip of the iceberg. I think just the excitement around the coaching staff, myself, and just what the fan base needs in terms of a shot in the arm, right? Because whatever over the last couple of years or whatever has taken place, you know, our fan base has just been looking for something to hang on to and to cheer for. So, you know, the excitement around, you know, myself coming back home and the opportunity to lead this group of young men, and then just to be at my alma mater, man, has been tremendous so far. And I've been hitting the ground running, to be honest with you. There really hasn't been a week where I haven't been on the road trying to make sure that we're talking to different alumni associations and being at different clinics. We just spoke at the Orlando Nike Coach of the Year clinic, talking to the high school coaches, making sure they understand the importance of the roles that they still play despite the transfer portal and all that good stuff. And then just having the opportunity this upcoming week to go down to Melbourne and talk with some regional national alumni folks that will have a roundtable this upcoming weekend. So, you know, I'm excited about where we're headed, you know, and then just the participation and some of the things that we'll be able to do with the donations, because at the end of the day, we didn't have any goalposts on the practice field. We got goalposts ordered with some of the donation money to get the goalposts on the practice field, so our field goal kickers, extra point field goal kickers, can have what they need and not have to go in the stadium to work on those things. So for us, man, we're gonna do right by folks that decided that they want to make sure we have what we need in terms of getting ourselves where we're trying to go from a production and then also from a preparation standpoint. So we're going to do what it is that we need to do the right way and make sure people, and we're going to be very transparent with what we utilize this money for. And we're going to make sure that people realize and understand what we're doing with it, so they'll know that their dollars aren't going to a black hole or going somewhere that it ain't supposed to go.
Now, Coach, I'm going to say this. The person that brought this great idea to you is somebody that is dear to me, is my freshman brother. We've known each other since we was 18 years old.
That's right.
Marvin Green, major gift officer for athletics and the Marching 100. So, Coach, listen, me and Marvin talked. This thing is still alive, Coach. And Marvin told me, he said, Brother Campbell, we got to get this at least to 1,000. So I'm going to bring Marvin on because I said, Marvin, I want you got to explain to me how in the world that, in your opinion, that Coach Gray, because of who he was, that we were able to raise $327,000. So I'm bringing my classmate to the stage. My guy, Chicago's finest, Marvin Green Jr. Brother Marvin, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, Steve? What's going on, Coach? How you doing, man?
And I ain't seen you in a couple of days.
Brother. I'm out there grinding, man.
I already know. When I don't see Marvin, I know he working, man. That's what it is. That's what it's been for the last 2 months since I walked on campus. He's been working, man.
Appreciate you.
Marvin, I want to talk to you because, one of the things when, me and you were texting back and we kind of knew in advance that Coach Gray was going to be the man. And Marvin, you came up with this great idea. But Marvin, great ideas are only executed if people believe in the idea and the program and the mission. But I want you to really talk about why this man right here, who again, 70 days of no FAMU fools, you were able to put together a program that, Marvin, this is legendary because we got people out there, they're trying to raise millions, hundreds of thousands, and this FAMU community, and Coach said, we ain't even scratching the surface, has raised $327,000+. So I want you to really talk about who Coach Gray is, why do you think this was, and where do we need to go, and how we going to get these additional people to get in there?
Well, man, I'll be quick, man, because I definitely know that you got a lot to talk to Coach Gray about, and it's important to hear what his vision is for our program and where FAMU is going. But really, man, I'm really one guy who just helped put together a lot of good people who had great intentions. A lot of times, we have various groups, our Rattler Boosters, Rattler F Club, 220 Club, Rattler in Arms. We have fraternity organizations, sororities as well, who wanted to just welcome Coach Gray home the right way. So when you talk about, having a change in leadership, we had a change obviously in football leadership. And then we started hearing the rumor mill about who was coming home. And once it became clear that it was Coach Gray, we wanted to make sure that Coach Gray got off to a great start, right? You don't want to have anybody coming in limping, so to speak. And so really what happened was I started having a couple of people from those organizations, the Boosters, 220, Rattler F Club, Rattler in Arms, etc., saying, Marvin, we got to make sure that Quinn comes in, Coach Gray comes in on solid ground. And that's really what got it going. The thing was they had this idea 2 days before Christmas. To me, I think that's what says what made Rattler Nation special, was because they said even when people are on the road, on vacation, other priorities, trying to buy kids gifts and all those things that we're doing during the holidays, they said we got to make sure we get this foundation in place. And really that's what took off. But the other piece about it is we had a deadline of the first phase, which was January 31st. We had a dollar amount we wanted to get to. And those two things create a sense of urgency. We just want to just have something out there saying we want to raise money, right? Everybody wants to raise money, but you got to have a deadline. You got to put a dollar amount on it. But then it was knowing that we still want to do more. Coach Gray is going to need more, and our other coaches as well. Our athletic department as a whole needs more. And so I want to be clear about that. And I think Coach Gray hit it on the head. We write about 900 people. The first goal was to get at least 1,000 people involved in this campaign, because when 1,000 people go back and tell 3 or 4 people, now you get to 3,000, 4,000, right? And that's the key about it. Everybody talks about the 70,000 alums, the 80,000 alums, as Coach Gray said, but we have to know that there's always going to be the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of the people do 80% of the work. And so I think our goal is how do we get to that 20% of Rattlers who say that they committed, who said that they want to see the team win, who said that they want to make sure that Coach Gray has what he has, so that when you're bragging in the stands, we use that term brag different. Well, brag different means you have to brag with your purse strings as well. And so that's really what this thing is about, man. Like I said, I just happen to be in a position. Obviously, I know people. I've been around for a while. So when you've been around 30 years, you know a few people who you can call. And then once those people believe in what you're doing, Coach Gray said it as well. We're being transparent with the money. He's going to tell you what he's doing with it. He got some things that he wants to get done ASAP, and then he got some things that are bigger projects that we need to even continue to kind of put the pedal to the metal on as well. So I appreciate you for having me, man. All I want to say is restore the strike was Coach Gray's, he called it his slogan. So it's a mantra slogan to restore the strike. But I want to let you all know his core values are on all in. All in is all about those core values that he had: attitude, the little things, the love, intelligence, and doing it now. So, Coach, I want you to know, man, I've been listening to you, bro. We all in with Quinn. Thanks for having me, brother.
That's it. That's it, man. That and Marvin is obviously, man, kudos to Marvin because he brought this idea to me. And he as soon as we, everything was announced, it was we hit the ground running. Hey, Coach, what do you want this thing to look like? What do you want to call it? How do you want it? When all of this stuff started going in motion, man, I knew for a fact it was about the strike and being a Rattler. And what was it that we need? We need to restore the strike because a lot of people feel like FAMU ain't where they once were. So we need to restore the strike so we can continue to and make sure that we're continuing to make sure that we inviminating people, if that's a word, right?
We're going to make it a word. We're going to hashtag that tonight.
That's right. We inviminating people, right? Making sure so that, people understand that the venom from the strike is now about to be restored when we do bite. Right. And that's what it's truly all about, man. And it's not just about, again, like Marvin said, it's about the athletic department. But when it comes down to it, man, the Restore the Strike campaign has been tremendous. And obviously phase 2 of this thing is underway with the next $250,000. So we can try and make sure that, those lights and the tower for our film and all that good stuff gets put up for our practices and things of that magnitude. And then ultimately, man, we want to make sure that, the bigger picture is trying to get a building that we can all make sure that we're proud of and our kids can walk in and be proud of. Because right now we struggle with meeting room, right? We don't meeting space that we need and things of that magnitude. And there's several other things that we can talk about that we can talk until we blue in the face. But at the end of the day, it's going to take a pretty penny to try and get those things done. And we're going to rely on Rattler Nation and then also hopefully some things from the state that'll help us get to that point where we're getting the buildings that we need.
Marvin, Steve, I want to say one thing before I get out of here. This thing was so important, man, that it galvanized all Rattlers from all walks of life. Our current president, our past president, several of our past presidents, they all pitched in as well. Coach Gray, he actually had his name on the ticket. So to say that he's invested in the program, I think it speaks volume. Board of trustee members as well, right? So people were really behind this thing and they continue to be behind it. But I think that's the importance of it, is that it's the high and the low. It's all the way from the BOT all the way to somebody who's sweeping hallways, because guess what? That's what it takes to have solid programs, and we know that.
Hey, Marvin, one thing before I let you go, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this, because, again, you're doing personal donations, but, Marvin, you are the major gift officer. So if we have people that are alums, because, again, supporting FAMU, again, if you are part of a corporation like Coca-Cola, Apple, or a person like that, Marvin, these donations, they're tax deductible even on the corporate side, correct? If they want to make $1 million donation, they will contact you and things like that, get the stadium named or something like that?
Yes, sir. We have all those conversations. Marvin.greenjr@famu.edu. All of the gifts that go to the University Foundation gets a tax deduction. So you're right about that. We're giving to the FAMU Foundation. The football team has an account there. Of course, the athletic department has an account there as well. And because you're going through the foundation, which our vice president is Dr. Brandy Tatum Frederick, I need to make sure I give her a shout out, and our VP of athletics, John Davis as well. So those individuals are putting together the visions. They're the ones who kind of run things from the top. And all we're doing is hitting the ground running, make sure we're shaking all the trees, getting people involved as much as we can. So Marvin.greenjr, GREENJR@famu.edu. Let's talk about it. All right, I'm gonna let y'all go, man. I know y'all got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, he is the major gift officer for band and athletics, Marvin Green Jr., my freshman 88 brother. Coach, listen, I appreciate you, but I think this is so important because the level of enthusiasm that you have brought And Coach, I do want you to talk about, because I'm gonna let Rocky get in here, but you talked about this money that's being raised, and you got talk about, like you said, Coach, what you came and you saw, because we talked a little bit. I don't know, Coach, you were talking about Michael Vick, and like, Coach, this job ain't easy when you coach at the HBCU.
Right.
And I don't want people to think that because you came in here and because of who and what you are, that you're making it look easy. It's a heavy lift. So, Coach, talk a little bit about, of course, because again, as you can, when you observe some of the things we need, and you say, you know what, I can use the money for this, this, and this. And what are some of your bigger goals to say, hey, when we get to phase 2 and 3 and these corporate sponsors, that, yeah, we're looking for 10 corporate sponsors that to do $250,000 a piece. You know what I mean? To get to the bigger level. Because I really think people need to understand where, like you said, what you're seeing from where you played, where it's still the same, but where we need to go, where excellence is where it should be at.
Well, what I do know, man, is, for where college football is, there needs to be an opportunity to be able to fund and to be able to make sure that these players are compensated for what they do, right? Obviously, with the collectives and things of that magnitude, there has to be an opportunity to be able to make sure that we're able to give these players some resources, because at the end of the day, a lot of these players, man, believe it or not, they're not begging and asking for outlandish things, cars and jewelry and all this good stuff. A lot of these kids are just asking for the opportunity to take their girlfriends out on a date every weekend. You know what I mean? So to be able to help them do those things that are, to me, that are life things, is vital, to be honest with you. So for us to be able to help in the money with the collective, and then be able to have that rev share for our student athletes is tremendous. So gone are the days of not being able to compensate these players and do what we need to do to help them just live normal lives are gone, to be honest with you. So for me to come in the door and just realize and see the things that when I left as a player, and some of the things are still the same, that to me is where we are from a FAMU standpoint, and who we say we are as FAMUans. I think it's totally absurd, to be honest with you, if for a lack of better term, because there's a lot of schools that, in my opinion, that were below where FAMU was at one point, that have taken the necessary steps to get themselves where they are. And just to name a few, let's just talk about it, right?
Let's talk about, Coach.
Talking about FIU, right? You're talking about a school that had just started football, and FAMU had been playing football for several years. They've done what they've needed to do, and they've become a FBS, group of five FBS school. FAU, same thing. Central Florida, same thing. South Florida, same thing. All of these schools, in my opinion, where had we, or if we are able to do things the right way, we could be exactly where these folks are. But we are where we are, right? So we're not going to cry over spilled milk. So for us, it's about continuing to make sure that we're steering the boat in the right direction, and making sure that we're doing and putting our best foot forward to make FAMU the best that it could possibly be. And for me, just getting the resources to be able to do that and have just the minimum is what we're talking about. Lights for us to be able to practice in the morning on the practice field. You know what I mean? A tower for us to be able to film practice, things of that magnitude. A storage area for us to be able to store our equipment on the practice field, where it ain't getting rained on when it does rain, that we can put it up and store it, and things of that magnitude. So you're talking about things that are just minimal things to run a collegiate athletic department and a collegiate program from a football standpoint. So for me, man, this Restore the Strike campaign has been tremendous for myself and the program. And we're going to do right and make sure that we're doing what it is that we need to do to put our kids in the best situations to be successful with the equipment that they need from a practice standpoint, and then also just from a technology standpoint, because we're talking about gone are the days where you hand out paper playbooks and three ring binders and things of that magnitude. So we're talking about having iPads for our kids and things like that. So, all of this stuff is on the table, but we want to make sure that we're hitting and grabbing that low-hanging fruit that we can go ahead and grab, versus those things that are a little bit higher in the tree, like a facility, right? We understand that we need a facility. We've been in the same facility since 1982. You know what I mean? And we got a couple buckets in the locker room that catch water from the ceiling. But at the end of the day, we're gonna make it do what it do until we're able to get that building that we need. And the fact that these kids are still coming each and every day and sitting in the locker room for our team meetings and things like that and continuing to fight for this university says a lot for them. So to me, we owe it to these new generation of Rattlers to make sure that we give them the opportunity to see better as we move forward at FAMU.
Coach, that's amazing. And I'm going to tell you this, and me and Marvin talk, and I'm going to say this to, hey, listen, Rattlers, we got some people that are directors, there's some vice president at Home Depot, at Lowe's. Hey, man, listen, y'all around there sponsor ESPN. Have no folks from Home Depot, that North Florida area, come to Coach Shed. Come on, Home Depot. You put your Home Depot sign behind Coach and do a beautiful interview, a commercial for you, and put that FAMU logo on it. So Home Depot, so Coach, those are things that I think, again, like you say, the 80,000 alumni. Again, we don't have regular alumni, Coach.
Right.
We got top tier alumni. So so that's the reason why I want you to come on there, because this is a big amplification. Because people are going to watch this and say, man, oh, man, I didn't even think about that. I work at Home Depot. Let me call Marvin and see if we can get Coach a shed. And like you say, each one's a building block to that greatness that I know you're going to bring us back. As you say, restore that strike. So, Coach, I wanted to get that out the way. Now we're getting ready to talk some football, because Rocky about that football. You know what I mean? But I had to do, I had to get the FAMU out the way. You know what I'm saying? For you and for my man Marvin. So, Rocky, listen, now you come on in. And now, but tread carefully now. Like I say.
I appreciated Coach Gray. I didn't know you. I didn't know much about you, Coach Gray, until you came on our show a few months ago while you were involved in the NCAA Division II playoffs. You came on our show and you did something I thought was very authentic, right? While holding the job at Albany State, I asked you a gotcha question about your interest in being the FAMU head coach. And in that moment, you could have danced around it and said, hey, I'm focused on what I'm doing, whatever, which you did say that, but you also said you were candid about your interest in taking on that challenge. And you spoke candidly about it, and it was probably the most riveting part of our 1 hour interview, is that you said that it's a job that you wanted and that you coveted. So I take credit for unveiling the fact that you definitely wanted that job, right? But Coach, now that you're sitting in that seat, right, what is the most important aspect of being in charge of the FAMU football program to you?
I think really, man, is to really get the kids that are in the program now, the kids that are coming, really to help them understand the history, the foundation that was built before they got there. To be honest with you, man, the first meeting that we had, the first team meeting that we had, man, I asked, the players about one particular FAMUan that does radio, and nobody could answer the question. Who is this guy? Who is that guy? I was talking about none other than Albert Chester. And when it came down to Albert Chester travels with the team every week to do radio. They couldn't tell me who Albert Chester was, right? So what I do each and every week on Tuesdays, I start our team meetings with who's who of FAMU football. Right. Last week we started with the man himself, right? Coach Jake Gaither, right? Alonzo Jake Gaither. We started with him. This past week we went with Coach Rudy Hubbard, right? Next week we'll have another FAMU foundation builder from a coach standpoint or a player, right? So these kids understand who and what are the reason that they sit where they sit. Now, mind you, they may sit in the same seats that some of these older folks may have sat in too, but at the day, they need to know their history, right? They're going to know the alma mater, because we're going to stand in front of that band, win, lose, or draw, and make sure that we give respect to the university and sing our alma mater like we know we're supposed to. right? We're gonna say our war cry every time we bring it up after practice. We wounded them. They fall to our feet. They shall not rise. They're gonna know that, right? But for me, the most important piece to this thing, man, is making sure that we get these kids to understand the foundation that was laid before them, and they play with the pride that FAMU deserves, because this university has done so much for so many people, and it's doing so much for these young people in the program now, that they need to understand that the orange and green that they wear, it carries more weight than they probably know about until they leave and come back and understand how much weight this orange and green actually weighs when it comes down to it. So for me, man, to be in this seat, it's truly a blessing. It's truly an honor, because at the end of the day, I'm sitting in the seat that my coach, that I looked up to, Coach Billy Joe, sat in. I'm talking about the very same office that he coached me in, and when I go in that office every day, man, I have no choice but to think about some of the things that he would impart to some of us as his players and things of that magnitude. So, man, for me, it's a blessing, and it's truly a dream come true.
You know, Coach, as you were talking about those great FAMUans, my favorite, all-time favorite FAMUan, I came in contact with, I learned to know who he was as a very young man. And he was Bullet Bob Hayes. And I was so looking for, me and Steve took a long drive down to FAMU from Atlanta during the SWAC championship, and I want to say 2023. And I was hoping to see a monument to Bullet Bob Hayes. And I did see him recognized, and I did see him be recognized. But when I look at it, I'm saying with such a rich history and knowing that he was a gold medal winner, he was a All-Pro, an NFL Hall of Famer. And then also to be taught, on that drive, Steve also taught me other history about FAMU. It's my opinion that that's one of the most compelling things about FAMU and its athletics, is that the men who have played and who have coached at that program, and that sometimes their names are more well known than the university is at times. But to me, Bob Hayes is an all-time great in track and all-time great in football, but it's not. But it seems to me that those two brands, Bullet Bob Hayes and FAMU, is not always tied together.
Right.
It should. Is there anything that you see in the future to where you could kind of bind those, not just Bob Hayes, but there are many, many great men who went on to do great things with FAMU. Is there any way we can make a visible tie to the program and those great players? Any vision that you have for doing that? Because I think that's important, that it's very prominent, not only to the players, but a guy like me, someone who walks through the facility, that I understand that these are FAMU men.
No, absolutely, man. I think for us and myself, some of the branding things and ideas that I have for our building really incorporates that. You know what I mean? You're talking about, as you speak about Bullet Bob Hayes, you're talking about the guy who made defenses create cover two, right? You're talking about the only human alive that won a gold medal in the Super Bowl in his lifetime, right? So to have these type of people to come through and these same walls that we are currently in, and to not honor those folks, I think personally, I think we do need to do a better job of making sure that we recognize and honor these folks in different ways that different universities have done in such a way, like South Carolina, right? It has a statue out of their arena at the University of South Carolina, right? We've had several people to come through our walls, say the football, hey, the Coach Jake. Now Coach Gaither does have a statue in front of Gaither Gymnasium and things of that magnitude, but to be able to honor our greats like Bullet Bob and Albert Chester and Greg Coleman and Nate Newton. There's so many names, man, that are synonymous with FAMU that to try and honor everybody in such a way would take years, to be honest with you. But for myself, with a lot of the branding that we we have going on in and around the building, we definitely will highlight a lot of the guys that are foundation builders of FAMU football and then FAMU athletics, because, you know, as rich as FAMU football is, you know, you still got other sports that have, you got the Clement Johnsons, you got the Althea Gibsons, you got, you know, the Natalie Whites and things of that magnitude. So you got so many people that have walked the hallways of FAMU from an athletic standpoint that, you know, we have a duty to make sure that we recognize and make sure that the younger generation and the newer generation understand the people that have come before them, so they'll know who and how they've gotten to where they are in terms of FAMU.
You know, one of the things I did understand while I had a visit and got a chance to meet Willie, Coach Simmons, and some of the other esteemed alumni there at FAMU, like no other place I can truly say I've ever been. Those people love FAMU.
Man, they call it. I heard somebody call us a cult one day, man.
They love FAMU.
Listen, and I mean to cut you off, but it's a different feeling, man. Like I know Jacksonians love their school, Alkanites love their school, but it's different, man, being a FAMU, right? Man, that when that orange is bright and that green is tighter, man, it's different, right? And it's just something about the orange and green and being able to represent this university, man, because this university has done so much for so many people, man, that, you know, to say that a lot of us owe FAMU and we'd never be able to repay what FAMU gave to us is just an understatement, right? Because at the end of the day, as I said, we're called a cult a lot of times, and I'm proud to say I'm a part of that cult, right? Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Now that the fact that I did choose to attend FAMU, man, I don't think I would have ever been able to understand anything differently than what I chose to do, and that's to go to FAMU, man. So to be a part of this cult has truly been life-changing, man, because over the years you meet so many different people in different aspects of life that are FAMUans. You're talking about executives, you're talking about athletics, you're talking about entrepreneurs, you're talking about generals and things like that in the military. There's FAMUans are everywhere, right? So there's not a place in this world that you can go that you're not going to run into a FAMU. I ran it when I was over playing in Germany back in 2003. I ran into a couple of FAMUans that were over there serving in the military. So to say that everywhere you go, you probably going to run into a FAMU is an understatement.
You know, again, how this relates to my next question is that being that you are a FAMU, you know how important having a successful football team is to the FAMU people, right? The one thing that I was surprised to learn is that FAMU is, in recent history, FAMU has come, you know, they've had some rough times, to be honest with you, Coach Quinn. And Willie Simmons was able to get it right. You talk about your coach, Billy Joe was able to do it. Coach Gaither was able to do it as well, Coach. It seems like these programs, as much as we want to say it may be FAMU's birthright to have a good program, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, FAMU hasn't had a great football team unless they've had a great coach. So
that's absolutely right. Like it takes great leadership to have a great program. There's no question about it, right? The leadership, the program reflects its leadership, and that it's simple as that. Like if the leadership ain't where it needs to be, then your program is going to reflect that. If you're a leader and you're not accountable and you're not holding guys accountable, you're going to see that each and every Saturday that you go out there and play football. They're going to be undisciplined. They're not going to do the things that they need to do in situational football, and they're not going to do what they need to do in terms of academics as well. So when it comes down to it, man, great leaders understand what it takes to be champion. And every day you have to be a champion because a standard is the standard. And once you set your standards for your program, that's what creates your culture, right? And making sure that these student athletes understand what it is that's going to make them successful, versus what is not going to help them be successful, I think is more important, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're loving them more than you're tearing them down, because at times you're going to have to tear them down to build them back up. Because that's just what life is all about, right? We sometimes we do things that sort of kind of put ourselves in different situations, and then there's consequences for it, right? But at the end of the day, you got to put your arm around them, because when it's all said and done, they don't care how much you care. They ain't gonna do nothing for you until they know how much you care about them, right? And you got, and that second L in all in is love, man. You got to show these kids that you love them. And how do you show these kids that you love them, right? I said it in my press conference, man. We don't spell love L-O-V-E around here. We spell love T-I-M-E, because we got to spend time with them to help them understand that they can trust us. We're going to put them in the best situation that we possibly can to make them successful people in our program. Because I wholeheartedly believe, man, if you build great young men, you're going to build great football players at the same time, because the better young man or better person that they are, the better football players that they can be. And as simple as that. And it starts, with discipline. It starts in the classroom, because if you're doing those two things, you're a disciplined person, you're responsible and accountable, and you're taking care of your academics, then I definitely don't have anything to worry about on the football field, because I know you're going to handle your business with that. But leadership has a lot to do with the success of any program. And that's not just with the head coach, right? That's also depending on the people that you're putting around you as the head coach, that are going to be talking to your players and leading your players every day. Because as the head coach, quite honestly, over these last 2 months, my assistant coaches have had more interaction with the players than I have, because I've been out trying to fundraise. I've been out doing different things for the program. But at the end of the day, to know that I have coaches that I can trust, that are going to make sure that we're speaking the same language to our players, and making sure they know the standards, and holding our players to the standards when I'm not around, is of utmost importance. So for me, man, it's not just FAMU. It's any football program that you look at in and around the country. If you got great leadership, a lot of times it leads to championships. And you're talking about the Tremaine Jacksons. You're talking about the Chennis Berries. Those are my dudes, man. And I talk to them all the time about how they do things and why they do things, because at the end of the day, this is a copycat league, right? You want to be successful, you better be trying to do something that successful coaches are doing. I talked to Chennis when we were at the Legacy Bowl, man. When Chennis beat my ass down at Benedict and I was at Albany State, I wanted to know what he was doing, because I thought I was doing something right? Until I went in that game and he gave us one, right? So after that, I had to figure out, okay, boom, I'm gonna study Coach Chennis Berry and figure out what he does with his program. Obviously, I'm not gonna take every idea, because every idea that he does doesn't work for everybody. But there's some things that I know that he does that makes his program successful, and I want to know what it is, right? So, as a leader, man, you got to watch and figure out what other leaders are doing, and try to figure out how you can implement some of those things to your program to help your program be successful as well. But it all starts with the leadership.
One thing I want to say, Coach, right quick is, I know people are saying they want to talk, let's talk football. But I just want to add this, Coach. My interest in always is the man in charge of the program, because I believe that's a direct reflection of how the football is going to look at the end of the day. The reason why Prairie View, Jackson State, and you mentioned South Carolina State, the reason why those programs are what they are is because of the men who are in charge of those programs. You have to get to know who those men are to set expectations for what the program will look like, Coach. And I appreciate you being candid about your philosophy as far as a leader, because I think that's a snapshot of what FAMU football will look like in the upcoming season. And from listening to you, you sound a lot like Coach Jackson at Prairie View and what his mentality was coming in. Right. But this is my last question. I'm gonna let Steve have it. What is a FAMU football player gonna look like under Quinn Gray? I'm talking about the player. What is he going to look like? What is his attributes going to be? What he's going to put on the field?
You're going to be smart, fast, and physical, man. You got to be smart to play this game of football. You got to be fast in everything that you do, and then you got to be physical, man. You got to be violent. This game is a violent game, right? You got to have violent strain to finish everything that we do, right? And then when it comes down to it, we're going to be a team that wins situational football, because football games are nothing but a bunch of situations, right? So we got to be smart in terms of the way that we approach these situations each and every week as a coaching staff. Third downs, right? Green zone, red zone, end of the game situation, 2-minute situation. The game of football is filled with nothing but situations, and we got to make sure our players understand how to react in different situations. And that's what we've started our spring ball with. We are already, obviously for us, we're already working on third downs. And it's only week practice 3, right? So we got to help them understand how important these situations are, because we're going to put the emphasis on what it is that we need them to understand and work on the most. So smart, fast, and physical is what people are going to say that this football team reflects. And that's the perception that not only is going to be the perception, but when you come out of a game playing a FAMU football team, your thing is going to be, well, damn, that was a smart, fast, and physical football team, because that's what we're going to put on display each and every week.
So, Coach, I'm going to bring it back to the old school. Coach, it sounds like you're saying mobile, agile, and hostile.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like, Coach, in the version 2.0.
Right.
Now, when you said fast, physical, fast, so Coach, we're going to have to, as they say, take the old to the new. We're going to put that through line right there.
Right.
See, Rocky, that's he talk about that Venom Nation, and he talk about venom inside his DNA. Coach, I want to talk about one of the things that you talked about and one of the bullet points. Coach, I know when you brought on, I think one of the most important things, and I think you had this conversation, I know some of the people in the background, of you wanted to make sure that you wanted to put together a quality staff.
Right.
And one of the things that I was fortunate enough to hear early, that President Johnson, along with AD Special Assistant Suggs, heard you and said that talk is cheap. We need money to get the best of the best.
No question.
Coach, we have a pool of $1.2 million for Coach, and I'm looking at this list. And Coach, I want, because a lot of people, because you had another great addition that just got announced.
Right.
Coach, I'm going to throw out some names, but I want you to fill in some gaps. But I'm going to tell you some of the names I'm excited about. Now, Coach, you're going to know, because you know the whole staff. Mm-hmm. But Coach, with that $1.2 million, I know you were smart. And you're the type of person I know you don't lose or waste no money. But Coach, you got Ryan Lewis.
Right.
Sam Madison, Billy Rowe. Coach, I mean, you got Toronto Morgan, Coach Cash, Coach Warman, Ron Dugas came across the track. Coach, those are just some of the names that people are saying. Coach, talk about these people and what you're talking about that's going to institute, and what kind of coaches. And, you know, maybe if you could just talk, because a lot of people don't know some of these coaches, you know, they heard the name, but if you can kind of go just some through your staff and give, you know, some bullet points of what we should be excited about, you know, your OC, your DC, Sam Madison, which I think is great. And Coach, I just want to say one thing. There was and you know this because you're from South Florida. Hal Snellenberger had a saying, the state of Miami, where he used to go from Palm Beach. Now I'm looking at all y'all background, Coach. It looks like you trying to go from 75, I-10 East, I-10 West, down to I-95. So we try to have a state of FAMU from Atlanta all the way down to Miami. That's what we try to do, Coach.
Listen, what I know is when I was here, I know what helped us win championships. It was the I-75 corridor from Atlanta all the way down. And for me, to understand that that's some of the best quality football that is played, you know, every college in America comes down that I-75 corridor from Atlanta all the way down to South Florida. And being that we're in South Florida, I mean, not South Florida, but being that we're in the state of Florida gives us such an advantage, man, when it comes down to it, because a lot of these kids, especially the kids in South Florida, they may not want to leave the state of Florida, but they definitely probably want to get out of the South Florida area. And that works for us because we're just far enough away for them to be away from home, but close enough that they can get home when they need to. But, when it came down to putting the staff together, man, it was all about making sure that we could win the state of Florida, right? Making sure that we can keep our kids in state. Those kids that aren't going to Power Fives, those kids that aren't jumping and going into the group of fours, because at the end of the day, you got kids that have left the state to go play this big time football that aren't making it at some of these big time schools and want to come back home. And to be able to put a staff together that mimics that of a successful tenure, because you got several coaches that have championship pedigree, right? As you spoke about, you're talking about Coach Ryan Lewis, who's our defensive coordinator, who has had the #1 defense in FCS football, the #1 defense in the SWAC a few years ago. So to bring him in to lead the Dark Cloud defense was something that him and I have been talking about for years, not necessarily here at FAMU, but just working together. That him and I have been friends for a very long time, despite him going to my rival in high school and then also going to my
talking about y'all South Florida boys, Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale now, Coach. You got to tell people the background on that.
Right. And then being a rival in college, right? So at the end of the day, I don't give a damn where you went to school. If you're a good football coach and you can get my kids to do the things that they can't do themselves, I want you to be a part of what we are building. Sam Madison, as you talked about, Sam is a guy that's played on a professional level, has coached on the collegiate level, and then has coached on the NFL level and has produced a number of Pro Bowl athletes, right? So to be able to have Sam tutor and mentor our corners, who better can you ask for? Not only that, you're talking about a cat that's from the Tallahassee area, and then you're talking about a cat that has roots down in the Miami area because he played for the Dolphins for so long. So he's excited about having the area of Miami to recruit and being able to foster those relationships with those coaches down there, right? And then you talk about Ron Dugans being a local legend, played at FAMU High just as Sam Madison did, and then playing over across the street at Florida State. And he has over 14, 15, 16 years of collegiate coaching experience at Louisville, right, at Florida State, and then a couple of different places as well. So to be able to have him coaching our wide receivers and giving them the mentoring that they need at that position is going to be tremendous. So for me, man, putting this staff together was not about, just getting guys that had names. It was getting guys that were well known in terms of their development of student athletes, and then also understanding the scope of college football and what we needed to do to make sure that we're putting our players in the best position to be successful, because some of these guys that they've coached over the years have been very successful, not only on the college level, but on the professional level. So as a head coach, man, you always want guys around you because you don't know it all. And you want guys around you that have had different experiences. And then you want guys around you that aren't just going to be guys that be, yes, coach, yes, coach, yes, coach. You want guys that are going to help you take this program where it needs to go, that are going to challenge you sometimes to do what's best for the program, not what's necessarily what's best at the moment, but what's best for the program moving forward. Because what I may think at the moment is best, one of the coaches that may have a different experience may bring something to the table, and I may say, well, damn, that sounds even better. So at the end of the day, man, we got guys in the room with us that are going to make sure that we're doing and putting our best foot forward, not only for these student athletes, but for FAMU as a whole.
Hey, Coach Gray, there's a coach that I believe he's on your staff, Coach Morgan. Were you guys able to ink Coach Morgan?
Toriano Morgan.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about that, Coach Cole and I had conversations about several staffs calling him, asking him about Coach Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to be quite honest with you, I was expecting him to land somewhere else based on the conversations that Coach Cole was having with me.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's at FAMU, Coach. Can you talk about how that kind of unfolded for you guys and and because it was Coach Cole is pretty reliable about the information he provides, Mr. Campbell and I, and for it to go a different kind of way was kind of surprising for me.
Yeah. Well, if I tell you this, I got to tell you the story. So Coach Morgan and I go back, and it's a funny story because Coach Morgan and I, my mom and his mom were friends, and our sisters were Brownie Girl Scouts.
Oh, okay.
So Coach Morgan and I, since we were about, I want to say 7, 8 years old, we were a part of the Fort Lauderdale Mount Olive Baptist Church Girl Scouts as honorary cookie take. And you know, we went to Mount Olive Baptist Church throughout our high school. We went to high school together. He was my wide receiver my junior year in high school. He was a senior. We played against each other while he was at Tennessee State and I was at FAM. But our relationship goes back over 35 years, almost 40 years at this point. So that relationship that we have, and to know that, you know, I don't know what happened at his prior place, but to know the quality of person and the quality of coach that he is, and to be able to have that caliber of coach on my staff that is going to help me in different situations, which is why he's my associate head coach, was just a blessing in disguise. Because as you said, I thought, you know, that there wasn't a chance for me to get him. But, you know, there's some things that worked out in our favor, and I'm definitely happy that things worked out the way they did, and he's now a Rattler here on FAMU's campus.
Yeah, again, Coach Cole is pretty accurate in his, and he had told me some other staff said, you know, they reached out for him, and he says, looks like they probably gonna make the move, or they want him or whatever. And then all of a sudden, it's FAMU. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? And so it's good to know that you know, the coaching business is, as I get to know coaches and stuff, it's such a relationship business.
It's relationship driven, man. I promise you, like, if there's coaches on this podcast right now, man, understand that, like, if you don't know a coach, the likelihood of you working with that guy, if you don't have somebody that he's close to recommend you or stand on the table for you, the likelihood of you working for that person is probably slim to none. Because when it comes down to understanding the demand and the fact that these 18 to 24-year-olds have your livelihood in their hands, you have to have people around you that you trust. You have to have people around you that understand who you are as a head coach, and can get on the same page quickly with who you are and what your standards are and what your expectations are. And to find and to understand that there's just going to be some guys that don't get opportunities because you don't have a relationship with that coach. That's just what it is. That's how unfortunately, that's where the coaching business is when it comes down to it. It's very relational. And if it's not a person that you've had a relationship or worked with in the past, you probably got to come highly recommended from somebody that coach either knows or an agent that he works for him that has suggested somebody that can possibly come in and do a good job for him. But this business is highly relational, and I'm sure that's the way it's going to be for a very long time.
As we talk about your staff, and you talk about Coach Morgan being your associate head coach, you coming in and bringing in a couple of your coaches from Albany State. Mm-hmm. I gotta ask this question because you were a play caller at your last stop. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can we anticipate you calling the plays at FAMU as well in Bragg Stadium?
You can anticipate it. You can write it down and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, I plan on doing that. But let me preface that with I've hired some guys, again, some great guys around me. And my plan is to I want to hand that part of it over. But at the end of the day, it's about, being able to trust and making sure that that person is on the same page with me, myself, and my thought process from an offensive standpoint. And when that happens, and I think it'll happen sooner than later, I'll be able to turn the reins over to who I feel like I can trust the most in those situations to make the best, put our kids in the best situation to be successful. Obviously, I'll still have my hand in some of that stuff when it comes to offensively, but over the past couple of years being at Albany State, you got
did you see him buffer Steve as well?
Yeah, he's buffering a little bit. Hopefully his phone didn't die.
I had one more question to ask him as a follow-up as well. Well,
hopefully it'll come right back in.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll come back in, man. Hey,
so Rocky, two things because I know we got. So I want to. So two things. So when he comes back, I want to address. He hired 2 young men. We need to talk about what's going on with the spring, and because he also has the spring game on a Friday. We want to talk about that. I want to make sure before we let Coach go because it's rolling on that, and then basically what expect not anything else. But I know those are things that people want to find out, why we're having the spring game on Friday. He's hired some young guys that we want to talk about. And we want to talk about some of the people that he's seen that he's brought in for the spring and things like that. So I just want to let you know.
Yeah, I definitely want to cover that. Just wanted to talk, a bit more about him. He admitted that he was going to call the plays. And I also wanted to add, Coach Cole has kind of described this, kind of explained to us about if you're a play caller as a offensive coordinator and you've been a play caller as a head coach and you had success, Coach Cole says it's almost unfair to bring another guy in to call plays. You know what I mean? To be up under that type of scrutiny. You know what I mean? And again, I kind of get what Coach Quinn is saying based on, the conversations we've had with Coach Cole, is to bring someone in and ask them to call plays when a lot of your success as a head coach has been because of the way you've called plays. And
I think what's going to happen is it's simple. Willie Simmons was a play caller. He called the plays. There we go. We got you back there, Coach. Oh.
Yeah, man, I'm back. I don't know what happened. That's why I don't mess with iPhones, man. I should have been on my I should have been on my Android from the jump.
You look better on the iPhone, though. I'll just tell you that. Just
hey, Coach, listen, we will, because I know we got to get, because like I said, you one of them early risers. So, Coach, I wanted to talk about, and I know that because I want to be very cognizant of time. So there's a couple of things we want to get through. Coach, 2 kids I want to mention that I think is important, especially for the Rattler Nation. I saw you've got Coach Billy Roll. I want you to talk about how important who Coach Roll is. Again, FAMU legend. You also brought in Mikey Victor, who played at Alabama State as a young guy. And also, and I'm super excited that I found out that Nayron Jenkins is going to be a grad assistant, who I feel is a true Rattler. Can you talk about those 3 people and why they're on the staff and Nayron becoming a grad assistant?
Well, Nayron, man, when we first, just to talk about Nayron, man, we first got there, it was him walking around the building and things of that magnitude, saying, Coach, hey, man, I know you just getting here and all that good stuff. But, if possible, I just want to hang around and learn and possibly, if I could help in any way, so for a young man to want to volunteer his time and get into the coaching business, I think that's humbling himself, right? Because a lot of times when it comes to this coaching thing, man, everybody is all about getting paid and making sure that they're making a dollar versus, trying to get their foot in the door. And he's going about it the right way. Coach, hey, can I volunteer my time? And if a grad assistant position comes open, man, you think I can? And for us, man, he's been a welcome addition. He's been a great guy in and around the building. He's been a tremendous asset to Coach Ryan Lewis in terms of helping him get to know the kids and understand who the guys are on the football team. So for us, man, Nayron Jenkins is going to be a good one down the line. And I'm looking forward to his success his development as a coach. Mikey Victor played for Coach Lewis, right?
Yes, he did.
So Mikey Victor actually coached up there with Coach Vic last year. So we were able to go ahead and grab Mikey from up there because he had the relationship with Coach Lewis. Mikey played a tremendous amount of football for Coach Lewis over at Alabama State, and then got a chance to play some pro ball. So Mikey is still developing as a coach. So he's in a quality control role for us, working with, the secondary. So I think Mikey, you're talking about a 26-year-old young man that is in a development stage of his coaching career, and he has a lot to learn, but he also has a lot to offer to some of our student athletes because he has different experiences that'll help them matriculate through this defense because he knows it, he's played in it, and he can definitely give them the inner workings of it and how it's supposed to look when it comes down to being successful in it. And then old coach Billy Rose, right? Coach Rose said you can't be called coach unless you're 50 plus. So it was important to me because Coach Rose has been such a support system for me, man, over the years that I've been a coach. And he's always had positivity. He's always talked positive when it came down to myself and the different opportunities that I've had. And we always had that talk or had that thing in the back of our head. Hey, man, if anything ever happens, because if he was to get a job or something like that, I'd come work for him. And if I ever was to get a job, the possibility of him coming to work with me as well. So, when the opportunity came about, coach is getting up there in age. So the possibility of him getting on the field wasn't, a great thing, but to have him in and around the program with the development of our players, because he's the player development guy. And then he also deals with high school relations because he has so many relationships with the different coaches in and around the state. I would have been a fool not to have him a part of that and help me to navigate, the coaches in and around the state, and then also help with the development because he's seen so much when it comes down to college football and then the way things have gone on and around the campus on FAMU for the last several years because he's been on Willie's staff and he's helped them win a Celebration Bowl championship. So for me, hopefully, we'll be able to do that thing one more time as well and get to the Celebration Bowl and do what we need to do to win a championship.
Now, Coach, you started spring ball. You got your players there. You brought in a tremendous. Some of the players are on. Hey, you got Coach. Thank you. You got my nephew Amar Parker down there.
Yeah.
I'm super excited. And I told him the first thing I told him is you follow that man, and he'll get you where you want to be, and also learn the history because there's a difference between playing football for FAMU and being a Rattler. Coach, talk about what you've seen some in the spring ball, some of the players that you brought in that were able to come in, from the December, to come in and participate. Some of the players that are still there that you say, hey, I want you to be part of the team. And also, Coach, in the end, I was curious to know, why is the spring game on a Friday? Because we want to know that too.
Well, to answer your first question, man, I think, over the last few weeks, we've been able to, really see our guys move and put them in different situations from a conditioning standpoint to see who was going to quit. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we want guys that want to be there. We want guys that are going to fight through adversity. And we want guys that are going to be smart, fast, and physical. Simple as that, right? But for us, we're in day 3 or just finished up with day 3 of practice. But we're highly happy with what we've seen over the last 3 days of practice. We got guys flying around. We got guys that are really, I think, just from a standpoint of when we first walked in the door to where we're at now, I think the confidence level has really been elevated in terms of the trust that we're building, and then also to see the guys feel like they have some ownership to what they're doing, right? In order to be able to be confident in what you're doing, you got to have some ownership to it, because at the end of the day, if you don't have some ownership, you can never be confident in it and believe in what it is that you're doing. So for us, we give our guys that ownership to take the bull by the horns and run with it, because we want to know what they do well and what they feel they do well as well. Because if we as coaches don't listen to our players, we're in the wrong business, because at the end of the day, they know what they're good at. They know what they feel they can do best. And if we're smart enough, we'll listen to that and put them in the best situations possible to be successful. But, you know, in terms of the spring game, just simply, the week is Orange and Green week. That Friday is Set Friday, and there's a lot of the Greeks that'll be coming out with their lines and things of that magnitude. So from the Office of Student Activities on campus, we want to sort of kind of put something together that will bring the campus together and bring the community together to be able to put on a good show for the community. So we thought Friday would be great to have Set Friday a little bit later in the evening. And then also what had to do with that was on Saturday, there's more so like an open house. And then there's a STEM convention or something going on with the STEM, and the parking on campus is going to be atrocious, right? So for us, we wanted to work smarter versus working harder, right? To have people try to get through traffic all day with the STEM stuff and not be able to find parking in Bragg Memorial Stadium. So we decided what would be best would be, hey, move it to Friday evening, give people a chance to get into town Friday evening, because we'll go at 6 o'clock Friday evening. It'll be our junior day. So we'll welcome our juniors that are some of our top recruits that are class of 27 in for that weekend, and then just give the community a chance to come on out, enjoy some good football, and then see what the 2026 Rattlers have to offer moving forward.
Well, Coach, I'm definitely going to be down there. Hopefully we'll be able to do a live remote. Now, you know, I get with Dennis and things like that. Now, Coach, is there going to be a fee to get into the game? Have you determined that?
I think there is. I'm trying to keep that fee as low as possible.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm going to say $5.
Gotcha.
Right? For everybody. I'm going to say $5. Obviously, students are going to get in for free. I think, you know, last year they had a certain price, but I'm going to say $5 now. If I get trumped, don't quote me on that. Hopefully.
That's no problem. We got to pay that, Coach. That's going to go directly to the bottom line of what you're trying to accomplish anyway.
There you go.
I think we got a little bit of money to support that.
There you go. So I would hope, I would say $5 to get into the game, the spring game, because I want to have as many people to come out and support these young men that would, at that point, would have gone through 14 practices already. And we're going to start a new tradition not a new tradition, but we're going to take the Rattler Walk a little bit on a little bit of a different route. And make sure that we can try and get the community to rally around that Rattler Walk from the new location, and make sure that we're putting our best foot forward to start some new traditions and make sure that we're giving the fans what they want each and every Saturday.
One last thing, and then I ask this, Coach, is there any players, and again, it's no problem because it is early, but is there anybody that you kind of say, you know what, hey, this is what we're talking about, that this young man is here, he's working hard, he wants to, like you say, going through those hard moments, but really kind of saying, I want to be a leader, Coach. I want us to get back and restore that strike. Any guys that you kind of seen already that are kind of standing up?
Yeah, there's several of them. To be honest with you, man, there's a lot of guys that are really, really trying to put their best foot forward, man. So to single out anybody, I would probably be remiss to name all of them, because to be quite frank and be quite honest with you, we're still getting to know our guys, right? We got names on the front of the helmets and things of that magnitude, because as I said, over the last 2 months, we've been out fundraising and doing some things to make sure that we bring some money into the program. So for me, I'm still getting to know our guys and developing those relationships. But what I can say, man, we're excited about what we're doing academically. We just put out 5 of our academic all-stars for our last week, and we'll do that from here on out, week in and week out, to announce, those kids that are making it happen in the classroom and on the football field. So for us, man, we're excited about that part, because obviously the APR thing is a big thing when it comes down to FAMU and the athletic department. So for us, we're putting our best foot forward to make sure that we highlight those guys that are doing things the right way in the classroom and make sure they get the recognition that I think they deserve from that standpoint.
Coach, I got to listen. I retweeted this because I've been around a long time and I follow you on social media. And when I saw this pop up, Coach is letting people know the standard is off the field to get on the field. And Coach,
question.
I've got to salute you because, again, and this is no disrespect to anybody else because everybody's different. I'm talking about you. When I saw this highlight, this was the most exciting thing that I think you posted because it was the mentality that I knew that you, Coach, this is no secret, and you addressed it, the APR, and you said, I'm going to tackle it, we're going to defeat it, and we're going to be winners of APR. This to me already showed that these young men understand what that goal is. And for you to highlight them, Coach, I want to just give you credit because I thought this was a tremendous post. You see, I already had it ready because I was going to ask you about it before you got up out of here. What made you, and so I will ask you, what made you do this, and why, and what have these young men also? Is this a trickle down effect? Not everybody wants to be part of this, get recognized every week.
Well, what happens is, man, a lot of times we get on our young men about what they're doing wrong, man, and that's some of the problem. Because so for me, I thought, well, while we're the social media and people outside of the walls want to sort of kind of come down on our players when they do things the wrong way. Why not highlight when they do things the right way? So for me, man, it's all about making sure we recognize these guys that are putting their best foot forward academically each and every week, man. And I'm most proud of Kennard Wilcher. Obviously, I'm proud of all 5 of these guys, but I'm most proud of Kennard Wilcher and Kai Gasson. You're talking about 2 guys that may have struggled a little bit in the fall from an academic standpoint. These guys have made a total 360. Now, I don't like to say 360 because that takes them right back around to where they came from. Right. But at the end of the day, these guys have definitely taken the bull by the horns or the rattler by the fangs and done what they need to do to make their academics a priority. So I'm highly proud because when I sit in my meetings on Monday with the academic staff and they said these guys are the ones that are putting their best foot forward and making sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do each and every day, making their meetings with the tutors, making their meetings with their academic advisors, and they're doing what they need to do and their grades reflect that, man, I can do nothing but highlight each and every guy. That obviously there's more guys that we can highlight, but we pick 5 each and every week, and that's what we'll do every week, man, to celebrate the guys that are doing it the right way.
Coach, I love that. Rocky, what you got?
Coach, I can't let you go without letting you know I looked through your schedule, Coach.
Come on with it.
And here's the deal. I'm trying to look for the FAMU rivalry. Is it Jackson State? Is it Southern? Is it Bethune-Cookman? Is it Tennessee State? Coach, which one of these games?
You say you're looking for a rival?
No. What I'm saying, I'm looking to figure out, as someone who is just now coming into the space, Coach, seems like everybody chooses FAMU as their rival. Who is FAMU?
Listen, and that's right. That's rightfully so, because we've done a lot of things to people over years, man. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people want to beat up on FAMU. That's just what it is, because we used to beat up on their ass back in the day. And that's just, think when I tell you, it precedes you. What people think precedes you. What we did to people back in the day, man, people don't forget that stuff, and they want some get back, right? Jackson State has us on their homecoming this year. Alabama State has us on their homecoming this year. We don't take that lightly. At the end of the day, we understand what it looked like over the past couple of years, and that's neither here nor there. But at the end of the day, we understand what people think of us right now, and it's up to us to change that narrative, right? So people can think what they want to think, but at the end of the day, when we show up on Saturdays, they're gonna have to put their big draws on and play the football that they think they can play, or it's not gonna be good for them. Simple as that.
So sound like you taking all comers, Coach. It sound like that you're not choosing one team over another or one rivalry or another. Because again, you talk to the people at Tennessee State, they're saying that FAMU is the game they got to win.
Well,
Jackson
listen,
State is talking about those people.
if Tennessee State right now is worried about FAMU, whatever 2 games they got prior to that, that's going to be an issue for them. Because right now, Albany State is what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing to get our guys ready to put their best foot forward this spring. And then once we're done with that, Albany State is all that's on my mind until we get to something else after that. But right now, we're trying to put the best team that we can together this spring to go into the fall. And then once we get to the fall, Albany State will be on the clock.
And Coach, I'm gonna make this last comment about your schedule, Coach. A lot of these schedules in the HBCU space, the Division I teams, they've doubled up and put an NAIA school or a Division II school on there, Coach. What's your theory regarding scheduling, and what kind of level of competition do you want to see on your schedule?
Man, I'm trying to prepare my guys for championship runs, man. We needed a week 0, which is why we're playing Albany State. And that's simple as that. Because other than that, it probably would have been some type of bigger school, but we already got a bigger school with Miami in week 3. So moving forward, man, I've been talking to other coaches at FCS schools already. Because we got a couple slots open for 27. I'm trying to set something up with some FCS or MEAC schools that we can try and get a game. Because I prefer to put our guys in situations to make them better. And playing an NAIA school ain't gonna make us better. That's like going out practicing against each other, in my opinion, or practicing against a lesser opponent. But for me, I don't care what other people do. But for us, we're going to make sure that we're challenging ourselves week in and week out to put the best product on the field so we can prepare ourselves later on down the line. So when we face those tough situations, we've already been in them and we know how to react versus having to think throughout those situations as well.
And last thing, Coach, last year we had a new coach coming from Division II, just like you. He made no bones about it. He said his goal for his team was to be in Atlanta at the end of the year. I got to ask you this straight up, Coach. Literally traveling the same path to get to your school that Coach Jackson did. What is your goal for this upcoming season?
Hey, man, let me tell you something. Tremaine Jackson is a guy that I look up to. Tremaine Jackson is my dude. So to pay homage to Tremaine Jackson, Atlanta.
Come on, Coach.
Atlanta. Got to get there.
Hey, Coach, that's a great way.
One time for my boy Tremaine Jackson, man.
Hey, Coach. That's a great one, Coach. I'm done.
Man, I want to end. I want to end it on that. But Coach, I'm sorry, I do have to ask that. I'm gonna have to say you say it again. There was a question because we got a lot of Rattlers in the chat.
Yeah, man.
And one of the things that we saw because we heard, have you hired your strength and conditioning coach yet?
Yeah, Joshua Woods, man, is our strength and conditioning. Josh, if you Google Joshua Woods, Josh has been with the Minnesota Vikings. He's been with the Miami Dolphins. He's been several different places, man, and his experiences lead towards success and in terms of developing young men, in terms of the strength and conditioning aspect of our program. And you know, when you sit down and you talk to him, his vision for what he has for our young men will blow you away. So he'll be at the 220 Club on tomorrow, speaking to that group. So if you want to tune into that, you'll get some of his energy that he'll be bringing to our program. But I'm excited about where we're headed with Coach Woods, and I can't be happier with the hire when it came down to getting Coach Woods on board.
Coach, along that same line with your staff, have you named a recruiting coordinator on your staff?
Yes, Toriano Morgan is our recruiting coordinator.
Okay, gotcha.
He's our associate head coach, and he's our recruiting coordinator. Yep.
Well, Coach, listen, I want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I know, man, you've been texting back and forth, and Coach, I know, like I said, you were at the Legacy Bowl. I know you had the coaches conference and thing, but I really appreciate you always got back to me, and you say you hadn't forgotten. And Coach, it means a lot to all the Rattlers that you're back home. And it means a lot, man, because I'm trying to tell you, boy, you restoring that strike, Coach.
I'm trying to get it there, man. And what I will say, man, I appreciate all of the support from Rattler Nation. Stay with us. Continue to support us. Come on out for the orange and green games. We're calling it Friday night.
What's the date on that? Two people, what's the date on that?
Friday, April 3rd. We're calling it Friday Night Strike. So come on out for the orange and green game on Friday, April 3rd. And come see what the new and improved Rattlers have to offer going into the 2026 season.
Well, there it is. Florida A&M's head football coach. 70 days of no FAMU foolishness, because you know why. So that man's our coach, Coach Quinn Gray Sr. Coach, we thank you for being on HBCU Coaches Corner.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me, man. And I look forward to being back on sometime soon.
Oh, you already know, Coach. Like I said, we're going to do something live. I'm coming down there for the spring game, so we're going to jump on there real quick and get everybody hyped about that too.
Awesome. Let's do it, man.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Oh, man, Steve. Now, now that's a great interview.
Listen,
that's an instant classic right there.
Listen, I try to tell people, and I text some other coaches, and this is no disrespect to everybody else's show, but the name of this show is HBCU Coaches Corner, presented by Johnnie Cole. Don't nobody do it like this. Don't nobody get the information like we do.
You know, Coach, I'm gonna say this. This interview is up there with Trey Oliver, one of our all-time favorite interviews. It's up there, of course, with Tremaine Jackson. It's up there with those Eddie Robinson's, Coach. This was a tremendous interview. He not only gave us great content and great explanations, but he was able, he put something on the wood, Coach.
Bro, listen.
He put something on the wood now. He didn't stutter, he didn't stammer, he didn't do it. He said Atlanta. Gotta get there.
But you know why? Because let me tell you something, man. And Rocky, like I say, you've been around highly motivated, successful people. You're a successful person. Me and you talk a lot and things. I mean, you're very humble, but you got things going on. But when you start pushing that to levels, that's what our champions are wired. You think he want to come in there? That man is talking about 4 and 8? He wired like that? You thinking that? You don't think that and let's keep it a buck. This man is a Rattler. You don't think that he saw Jackson State got us as homecoming, put 40 on us? Alabama State got us as homecoming, put 40 on us, and brag that this man who put 60 on people, you don't think he saying, wait a minute. And that coaching staff, because that's the thing about it, what you want right there is the mentality, the standard. You know, he was at the 220 Club last week, and somebody said, Coach, I want to ask you a question about discipline. You know what Coach said? That ain't a question. That's a statement. Discipline is not a question. What did we just see on the Coach Vic doc? See the difference? And no disrespect, but I'm talking about somebody that's been there that understands it. And that's the reason, I guess I'm going to drop that link. There's a reason why you can raise, and I got to share the screen because, like I said, people be talking about what they do, but there's a reason why, Rocket, we brag different. There's a reason why that man got $327,000. Rocket, do you know that is almost $500,000 in less than 60 days?
Yeah.
There are people trying to raise $1 million, ain't got 100,000.
Yeah, Coach. That's significant, Coach. I never forget what you guys did to try to keep Willie around. That was remarkable as well. And then you guys are coming back here again to show your support for Rattler. And you guys are putting in work, man. It was like I say, but I understand the excitement. So because I'm not an HBCU guy and because I'm not a Rattler, sometimes I don't understand the energy behind certain names and certain personas. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like I don't get it. And I think people who have been in the HBCU space sometimes don't get it either, meaning that they don't understand who Quinn Gray is. They don't understand what he means to be a Rattler and come home and be successful and lead the charge of restoring the strike. You know what I mean? So but again, he's a very impressive man. He's somebody that doesn't mince words. He's not playing the political game when it comes to football. He's letting you know what it is and what it ain't. You know what I mean? And I like intelligent men who speak plain and direct. I like that, Coach. All due respect to those great politicians who can dodge questions and pivot and turn. I like men who speak plain, straight, and articulate, and let you know what their plans are, and let you know what the standard is, because that gives us something to measure them by, Coach. I think sometimes coaches don't want to make a declaration sometimes, Coach, because to be honest with you, they don't want to be accountable for their own words, Coach. That's why they don't make statements like, I expect to be in Atlanta.
because they don't say it because they don't believe it. See, there's the difference. See, man, listen, when you listen, Rocky, we've interviewed a lot of these coaches. We taught a lot of these coaches offline. We've seen them out in public and stuff like that. When you've got the Tremaine Jackson, the Trey Olivers, the T.C. Taylors, and now Coach Willie Simmons before that, you know what I mean? And you got Coach Gray. They all are cut from the same cloth. Eddie Robb. Listen, man, Eddie Robb told Deion, you ain't swag. That's a championship mentality.
And rejected his hug.
Listen, man, listen. So when you got these guys that have been through the war, that have played for these schools, that understand, to your point, the tradition. Like Coach said, I walked through the field house. Now, what it was and what it needs to be, but I walked through those halls. I'm not going to let the team practice on this field because we didn't do that. You had to earn the right to get on that brag field. So these are things that when you sit back and people are excited, and there's a quiet comment. Because let me tell you something, Rocky. When you hire the coach that he hired, and like I say, man, I'm gonna listen. We always want to down people, but I'm gonna say this again. Shout out to Coach John, because listen, she heard it after that Valley game. She had to make a decision. She hadn't been there long, and she had a person to say, hey, what should we do? And for them to sit back and to make sure he got Rocky, listen, because it was the funny thing about it. You know, Southern came out with, Marshall Falk, we got $900,000. We're going to hire the best of the best. Marvin and A.D. Suggs said, hold my beer. We're dropping 1.2.
Yeah.
We're dropping 1.2 and we getting the best of the best. That makes a difference. So, Rocky, listen, we got on this show, man. This ain't no disrespect to nobody, but we literally did breakdowns with Coach Cole. I had Coach Cole coming on FAMU shows and saying, Coach, what happened here? And Coach Cole said, Coach, I can't tell you. You're not going to hear that. You're not going to see guys out of place. You're not going to see guys not knowing what to do. And you damn sure not going to see nobody put 40 unless we put 40 right back on.
You know the thing, Coach, like I'm going to be honest with you. When you look at what Coach Quinn Gray did last year, what Coach Ron Lewis has done already in the SWAC, right? Just those two hires right there, in my opinion, put you at the very top of the HBCU Division I coaching list as a tandem. You understand when you talk about as a tandem, right? Because Coach Lewis can carry himself on his own. But when you put that tandem together and look at what, because here's the deal, Coach. We don't have to speculate on whether or not Coach Gray can coach. You know why we don't have to speculate that? Because the last two coaches that won the leagues, one of them won the SWAC, the other won the
national championship.
won the national championship and has won back-to-back MEAC titles. So we don't have to question that league and what is in that league, do we?
No, you don't. And not only do you don't have to question it, to your point, the resume speaks for itself. And when you're looking at the people, man, and listen to the names that you're naming, a Chennis Berry, a Tremaine, who we've interviewed, and we're going to have Chennis Berry coming on now in the next couple of weeks, which I'm super excited about. But we've had the ability to talk to these guys. And the one thing that is consistent is that we're going to coach to a standard. The players are going to be in the standard, and there will be no excuses made. So when Coach says Atlanta, you know what that means? And I'll say this, Coach has, but what that means to me is I'm not going to make no excuse. The goal is the goal. I'm not going to sit back and say we only have what we have, because we do only have what we have. This is the first recruit cycle. But Coach said, I'm going to coach these players. And shout out to Kennard Wilcher, which is amazing, because that was some thing that for him to be on that academic highlight shows that Coach Gray has put that focus. Because, again, that's been one of the things, like I say, FAMU food, FAMU APR, FAMU ain't got this, FAMU quoting things that they don't need to be quoting. Rocky, ain't heard none of that. When you got people, those young men that are working hard in the classroom, guess what? You ain't gonna have no problem with no APR. Then what's it gonna be the joke then? Ain't gonna be no joke. Oh, fam, you ain't got no money to do this. That. Oh, well, wait a minute, fam, you just raised them $500,000, about to go get $1 million. They ain't laughing no more. And I tell you one thing, when that coach's call come around on the SWAC and everybody was making their little jokes, they was ready. Guess what's gonna be mighty quiet. Because it's quiet now, Rocky. They ain't making their jokes no more. Boy, they was ready to go. They had all types of memes and stuff. Ain't no memes on Coach Gray.
So let me ask you this here. And I'll ask matter of fact, I got the phone lines open. So if you want to call, you need to make a call quick. But I want to, in the chat, I want you to answer, I want you guys to answer this question. Because I think it's a very interesting question. You guys you set in for the interview, right? There's 12 coaches in the SWAC. From this interview, and Coach Quinn's resume, is he in the top half or the bottom half of those coaches?
I don't even know why you even asked that question. I don't even know why you.
I think it's a fair coach. Come on, now, Mr. Campbell. We got Tremaine, we got TC, we got Coach Robinson. You know, Coach Shade has some accolades, even though he had a rough season last year, right?
You got the top 12 teams, so there's 6. He will have to be in the top 6 and be in the top half.
Yeah, I get it.
So I'm telling you, we've got one coach that won a national championship, so you're going to put TC Taylor in.
Yeah.
You got another coach that won the actual SWAC, was Tremaine Jackson. You got Eddie Robinson, who's shown consistency. That's 3. After that,
Coach Quinn, again, playing in the same league as Coach Quinn, Coach Shade has beat Coach Quinn.
Yes.
So I mean, you can speak to that if you want to.
I said top 6. Listen, let me say what I do like. Let me say this. I'm gonna flip it another way. I like the depth of the coaching is getting better. Let's talk. Mickey Joseph just got re-signed in Grambling. You talked about Sam Shade. You saw what Coach Woody is building down there at Bethune-Cookman. So all of a sudden, you got Marshall Falk coming to Southern that people think high up. What I'm starting to see, so I'll flip it, is the depth of coaching is gotten better since you gotten here. Because remember, everybody was gone after what year?
Well, I'll say that there was tremendous turnover since I arrived, Coach. I done quit counting coaches. So
right.
You might as well forget. But what I'm looking at is, so I think we got to look at put some respect on Coach Mickey Joseph's name.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, he's beaten Jackson State twice and nobody's done that in the last since I've been here. Nobody's beat Jackson State twice since I've been here. Tell me who has beat Jackson State twice.
The only people that have beaten Jackson State has been us, Alabama State, and Alcorn, and Grambling.
Who's beat them twice is what I asked.
No, nobody. That's right. No, not since the Dion era. As we use the Dion era, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
So this is here's what my man say. Rocky, can you do this with a straight face? Of course. The facts are the facts. When you may not think very much of Coach Mickey Joseph and what he's done at Grambling, but you look at those 2 wins at that he's beaten Jackson State. He's literally done something that Tremaine Jackson ain't done because he's only been here 1 year. You understand? He's literally done something that Chennis Berry hadn't done. Chennis Berry had 2 chances and missed on both of them at Jackson State, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, one time. He's only played them once. Played them
No,
once.
no. Didn't he play him? Oh no, that was Buddy
that
Pugh
was Coach Pugh last year.
Yeah, that was Coach Pugh. My correct. Well, what I'm saying is beating Jackson State ain't no easy thing to do.
Absolutely not. And that's why I'm saying, and that's why I always start with TC Taylor's name first, and who and what he's done. And like I say, the thing about, and man, listen, the bottom line is this, to your point. That road that they get ready to go on that march is filled with people that can beat you. And I tell you what, and Coach said, I think Coach even alluded to it, that folks now all of a sudden got confidence that they can beat FAMU. And Coach, you can see, wait a minute now. Like Coach said, and no disrespect to Eddie Robinson, but we hadn't lost to Alabama State. We had beat them every year. Then we get blown out. Jackson State, everyone, like I said, that Dion when we had it. But those games have been classics. You know what I'm saying? Big, hard-fought games between Jackson State and FAMU. We lose to Bethune-Cookman. We lose to Valley twice. Valley has a 2-game winning streak on us.
Let me ask you this, Steve, as a Rattler, and then we'll and this is probably the last question I'll have about your Coach Quinn's predecessor. Are you going to look at Coach Cozy's tenure as a bump in the road or a setback?
Listen, man, I'm going to say this, and this is what I will say about Coach Cozy. I think Coach, when he got hired, I think at the way it was all laid out. But see, this goes back to the FAMU foolishness, right? It was every day was FAMU fools. He got caught up in it. He was the person that was next man up because of all the different things swirling. We're not going to go who should have been hired, why they not. Coach Cozy did the best he could do. He did. He tried. He's a good guy. I like Coach Cozy. But once again, there are certain jobs, to your point, because I'll tell you this, you said FAMU coaching correlates to championships and non-coaching. Well, that's any program I would tell you. There ain't a program that's not great, don't have great coaches. It is very rare that I've seen a program that is historically great, traditional.
I mean, you
had great coaches.
You can. So what I was simply saying is, a lot of and I didn't get a chance to articulate the way. If you talk to FAMUans, you would think that winning in football is a birthright when you talk to FAMUans, but it's really trended with those legendary coaches you've had.
But every program, Alabama is not Alabama without Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. You see what I'm saying?
I get you.
You start the same thing. You look at Ohio State. You know what I mean? Woody Hayes and those guys, and the guy that came from Youngstown State. Coaching always, like you say, you can't win championships without coaching. I'm gonna tell you, the only sport that you can kind of do that on, and that's only at a college level, is basketball, because you can have a guy literally win 6 games for you, and you don't have to be the greatest head basketball coach. You can be a good one. But I'm talking, you can literally have one guy. University of Michigan did it with Glenn Rice. But football is too many variables.
I will agree with you. I believe that there can be successors like a Larry Coker, who just inherits a very talented team and wins championships, or you can be a Gene Chizik, end up coaching a transformational player and catch lightning in a bottle. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I believe those are 2 examples. But even, and this is my point, even at those schools, they are, for the most part, I'll say Auburn has been a football powerhouse in the past. Maybe not a championship program, but definitely a football powerhouse. And we know what Miami was prior to Larry Coker and Butch Davis being there. They were a perennial championship program under Snellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, and Erickson. So they had a pedigree already, is what I'm saying. It usually, those programs can kind of talk about being championship programs outside of legendary coaches, in my opinion. But there's not, to your point, there's not many instances where championships are won at the college level without legendary coaches.
Well, that's the reason why you have people from Jackson State. And again, Rocky, you're a perfect example. You came on the Deion wave, right?
Yes.
You didn't know anything about Jackson State. You saw Deion. But that's why Jackson State people were like, bro, we already been like this. And with everything we got, we can be like that. Guess what? They back like that. And they're going to be like that for a long time, as long as T.C. Taylor's there. Because Jackson State is built to win. They've always been like that. Jackson State has never not been good. Overall. Yep. Same thing with why you think them Grambling people? Grambling people, they don't care. This is the G. Grambling been good forever. So when Jackson State got this powerhouse team, Grambling was not sitting back, oh, we're going to lose to them. That's not how Grambling folks think. Because Grambling said, we the one got the winning record against all these jokers in the SWAC. Other than Southern now, because I think Southern had caught them. But my point of it is, when you're part of these legendary HBCU programs, South Carolina State, they didn't blink when they lost to Jackson State. They expect to get right back there next year, which they did. And they told they was going to get right back there. And they won. But now what I do like is a person like Tremaine Jackson who went to Prairie View. Now, see, this is where your thing comes in, your analogy. Who has no tradition, who has been basically a bottom basement team. They've recently had an up and down. But people, listen, we're not going to play this game. Prairie View, unfortunately, right ahead of Valley, right ahead of UAPB over the last 50 years. Okay? But you bring a transformative coach with that talent base, then guess what? As long as Tremaine Jackson is there, Prairie View's going to be good. And then, can you build it with the next guy? If Tremaine leaves, can you build off of that? But it's the same thing with what I told Coach, and you heard Coach say it. And I know it. As you know, I teased about the state of Miami. You heard he said, I-75, that's FAMU country. All the way to Atlanta, they take you all the way to Florida, get you all the way down to Miami. And down I-95. You get them guys, bro. You get them fast dudes. We're going to be in any football game. And you saw the speed because you saw even our long distance runners who run your ass down. Boy, we in Florida, boy. So that's what I'm saying, man. It's the thing about it. What I'm excited and what what's so great about this show, man. We got to, first of all, shout out to everybody that stayed up to watch this. But this is what's so great. Rocky, appreciate you putting it together, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Because I know you were just transitioning, moving into a new house. Congratulations to you. But this is why this show is so important. Because coaches like Coach Gray get to come on and don't have to be rushed. We ask the question that people want to hear. And then you get a lot of information that now, the spring game, his coaching staff, his coaching philosophy, fundraising. Man, you're not going to get that at other interviews. You're not going to get that. So shout out to you with the, great questions and things like that. But, my biggest thing and why I'm excited and what I think is most, Coach, you hit it right. And shout out to Fang Exchange because, hey, they doing their thing. They're raising money. Like I said, all the auxiliaries that support FAMU, when they believe in you, they're going to put that money. And Rocky, we all know this is where we're at now. It's a money game.
You know the crazy thing, Deion, when he came in, he was able to bring in tremendous talent into the SWAC. But what I've come to understand about college football is probably what we've known in our entire lifetime, Steve. That college football is not about players. It's about coaches. We pay attention to the recruiting. We pay attention to the talent. We remember the stars. But winning championship at the college level is about coaching.
It's coaching. I mean, you've seen it all the time. Like you down there in Texas, what can't university look? I'm gonna use one better. Texas A&M has been one of the best team money can buy over the last since when Kevin was there, 40 years. What Texas A&M ever won? Never. Since integration, they've never won a national championship, and they have spent every dime that they've had.
They've probably won since in my lifetime. They may have won. I know one Big 12 championship when Sir Parker caught that last minute second touchdown.
Kevin had won 2 back-to-back with the guy that replaced Jackie Sherrill.
Oh, R.C. Slocum.
R.C. Slocum. They won 2. him.
So it's
Quinn
been
Gray.
3 in the last 56 years.
Thank you.
And that's conference championships. That's not
it.
national championship.
National championships. Look at all the money they had there. Miami come down there and smoke them boys.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. This mentality, and this is why I'm excited about what Coach talked about. When you play at FAMU, and man, every state, and listen, man, if you from Louisiana, man, you know how them boys from Louisiana roll. They roll a certain way. That's why Grambling, Southern. Hey, man, if you from Mississippi and you go up there over there 1400 Lynch Street, you move a certain way. But if you come to FAMU and you a Florida cat, because let me tell you something about Florida cats. And I went to school with them. They went to school with all those guys at Florida State, Miami. And I was in the dorm with them boys. You know what them boys said? Steve, you from Mississippi. I was better than that mofo. I can outrun him right now. That's their mentality. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm telling you what I know. So these guys play high school against these guys. So you get them up to FAMU, they still got that mentality. Like, what? I'm at FAMU because I want to be, or end up there, or the best, whatever the situation is. But that same mentality of playing best on best, man, you can't get nothing like that down there.
And you know, one thing I think Coach Gray, and then, you know, we can wrap this up, but one thing I mentioned is Coach Gray mentioned NIL, but to me, he mentioned NIL in a very ethical way, meaning that, hey, these players need things, right? And we should be able to provide them with things. But at no point did he mention, he tried to insinuate that he was going to try to go out here and buy victories. You know what I mean? And I think that's the cool thing about, even though I questioned it when Coach Jackson was talking about it, you know, when he came in, like he wasn't going to use money as a ploy to bring players in. He wanted players who wanted to play and wanted to win. And it seems like Coach Gray is going to have a similar outlook, understanding that players need things, and he wants to provide resources to players. And again, y'all know, anybody who watches this broadcast know that I want players to get their coin, right? But there are other things in college that are more important or just as important to money. And I think school fit is one of them. And I think FAMU will fit a lot of kids that come out of the South Florida and Panhandle area. It'll just be a great fit for those kids. And even South Georgia, for that matter.
Well, that's the whole thing. And that's why he said about that I-75 corridor, I-95. But, Rocky, here's the thing. And this is what I think people understand. What we had, 10,000 kids in the portal? Not counting the high school kids that are coming through. I don't care about the money. You can find kids that won't play football. If you can see, the biggest thing now has been talent evaluation and coaching matriculation. And what I mean by that, once you get them, to coach them to be better players. You see a lot of that at Jack State. That's why them guys all of a sudden, hey, man, we can go get our NIL money. But then you can't get the NIL money if you ain't coached up. So the thing, what's going to happen at FAMU, know how to be smart in the portal, understanding, getting those kids that might have gone to a group of 5, right? But now they're not getting a scholarship offer. Now you can offer at FAM. Get a kid out the portal, whatever the reason, because it's just a numbers game, but the kid fits what Coach Gray and Coach Lewis and Coach Roll and all those guys are looking for. Because you can't tell me it's not players out there. Coach Jackson showed it.
What's funny to me is that a kid like Rembert can go to, I believe, Edward Waters and play for Coach Morgan, and then go to Mississippi Valley, and then Jackson State, when that's a Florida kid. And how many times was he looked over by Florida programs?
Thank you. But guess what though? But guess who found him first? The guy on our staff, Coach Morgan.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm talking about, talent. Because see, you're at that level, you really got to identify talent. Because you got to get kids that play, because you get them on partials. They got to be academically sound. So you can see if you can get an academic. And Coach Cole talks about it all the time. Let me get a kid that can play and also academically strong. Because then I can basically get them a full ride. But that means you got to go and not just look at, because he runs fast. You got to look at run fast and he's a good student. And he's hungry, but maybe he don't have the perfect measurable. Like Nate does, right? He's not a perfect measure, but I tell you one thing, he's a dog. And he smokes anybody that gets on him.
Yeah, he gets open.
So I want the Bishop Bond. Shout out to Bishop Bond. Give me cats like that. That's it, man. You cats overlook me, but smoke you.
We got to get Coach Morgan back on because we didn't ask him about what the quarterback situation is. There are a lot of things we didn't cover, but I really, matter of fact.
Well, I knew what that was. I knew he wasn't going to say anything because I set it up, but I knew he wasn't because they only had 3 practices. So it'll be better when we bring him on because
maybe you can ask him about how many quarterbacks, because I really just want to know how many quarterbacks he had.
Well, I can tell you right now, they've got the kid from Alabama State, they got Isaiah Knowles, and they got Armand. That's only 3 that's there because the kid from Thomas Central.
Smoot has come over?
Yes, the kid from Alabama State.
The backup to Andrew.
Yes, he's there.
Really?
Yes. So there's only 3 quarterbacks there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So he came, because he was already in the portal. So he just came right on in for spring, which was smart. And Armand is the only true freshman quarterback that's there. So he's gonna be able to sit and learn.
And
what's the kid's name? That's not the kid.
Smoot. He says not Smoot.
Yeah.
Not Smoot.
The third string kid, yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, you talking about the kid that started. I'm sorry. I was not paying attention to what you were saying.
Yeah. But Steve, man, we can get out of here, man.
Yeah, man. We done. Hey, man. We done. Hey, man. Thank you. And like I say, shout out to my freshman brother, man. And I want to say something just real quick. And everybody understands this brotherhood and sisterhood of these freshman classes, that the people that you grow up with. I've known Marvin since the first day. A guy from Chicago, a guy from Jackson, Mississippi, and that's my brother. And to see us 40 years later, and to see what Marvin's doing, I'm so proud of. I appreciate him coming on. Shout out to Coach Quinn Gray, because like I say again, talk to him, develop a relationship. He's a Rattler, and all the Rattlers supporting him. And man, shout out to all the Rattlers in the chat and everybody from the HBCU family that that's watching all our shows, man. On the Off Script channel, on the Rocky Mill channel, man. We do this for you guys, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot, and man, it's all about the positivity. And Rocky, I'm gonna try to tell you something, boy. Rocky, you ain't seen the smile like this on my face is with it, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you.
You believe.
Hey, listen, I just, Rocky, before we go out of here, I just got to go out here with this one more time. This it, Rocky. This it. This it.
Hey,
we're going to keep it going. Coach Quinn, we keeping it all the way. Hey, Rocky, we're going to keep this number all the way to Atlanta. We're going to keep it all the way to Atlanta. So shout out to the administration and everybody else keeping it positive.
Coach, I think y'all have the right people in the right spots. You guys hit it out the park with hiring Coach Angela Suggs as AD. Her hires are paying off big time.
Hey, shout out to hey, you don't like that Charlie Ward in second place there, Rocky. See, don't play. But they thought they say Angela wasn't coming back though. That's what they told me, Rocky. That's what they told me.
She made a great hire in being able to get Charlie Ward. She may have made another great hire,
Coach Bill.
And what I'm saying is she probably was involved in the acquisition of Coach Quinn, even though she wasn't in the role of AD.
100%. She was 100%. And President Johnson, 100%. But we didn't have no AD at that time, so that's fact.
And so and you guys are fortunate that you were able to hang on to her. You guys have a guy in at AD who's kind of getting his feet wet in that position, and a person to work with him or mentor him, however the relationship kind of pans out. I think Angela is a perfect person to not only teach, mentor him in some ways, but also keep him out of the landmines in FAMU. You know what I mean? Yeah. Keep him off the because you must admit, Steve, it can get really hot really quick at FAMU.
Listen, all I got to say is no FAMU foolishness. But there's a reason when everything calms down, everybody's, hey, man, listen, this, bro, we got a lot of stuff going on, man. And it tickles me because there's a certain group of people, and again, we all know who they are. They love for FAMU to be jacked up. But guess what, bro? They little Twitter finger, they just can't do nothing. They little AI pictures is just mad. And they go over there in their little chats upset. So now, bro, it's a new day, man. So like I say, shout out to Coach Gray. Shout out to the administration. Let's stay focused. Let's, finish up the year, this academic year right. And, man, go into the fall. And like I say, Coach, I told you. Atlanta. Let's get it.
Got to get there.
Got to get there.
All right, Steve, man, we out of here. And I'm gonna try to do my best Coach Cole impression.
All right, go for it.
If you find yourself at the end of the rope, and this is election season, and your guy is on the ballot, and for some reason he doesn't get elected, tie a knot and hold on tight, because ain't nobody bad like you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all.